Yeah, and things really do solidify now for four Zoomers. It's going to be very apparent what Thunder Predator need to ban out, but Disruptor was the hero getting really the most speed out of anyone coming into this tournament. I think he was really the best response to both Tide, Bane, Abaddon, all of the heroes that we really were good against it before are still really good against it now, and being able to pick it up so late, I think it's definitely going to be very nice. Not to mention that you're going to be able to follow the Sand King in the Sandstorm just that little bit easier because you have that Thunderstrike harass coming out. But it's interesting. It's interesting to see what else they're going to go for. Because again, this is such a conservative for Zoomers draft. Because yet again, we're not seeing Gunnar really rush his hero. I'm so used to them first phasing that Storm Spirit and then dealing with it no matter what. Or first phasing the Morphling and then picking Willow at the beginning of the second phase. It's just a very, very different style. And Ursa will be the choice for Thunder Predator. I mean, that is a much different hero than anything we've seen Angel play thus far.
Hmm. And obviously, we've seen him play the Ursa in the past, just was not really the angle that they went for him in that series yesterday. So there's always going to be a little bit of concern anytime you play that Ursa. It's a high damage hero, but your mobility is a little bit limited. Other than the sort of Earth Shock, you don't have too many ways to maneuver unless you're itemizing for it, and you're going up against a lineup with slows, with the Glimpse, with the Mag who can sort of skewer you away, and a Juggernaut who could just kind of spin his way out of a lot of this initiation. So this Ursa can certainly, as we said, do damage. I'm just concerned about how well Thunder Predator can set Angel up to actually consistently hit anyone.
And it's interesting with the bans that these teams are making. They're saying it's going to be a mid Magnus and a mid Sand King, and they're both searching for their offlaner still, which is an interesting call to make. But I think one that Thunder Predator is a lot more comfortable doing because I think Sand King Wind is a much more stable lane than maybe forcing that Magnus into the mid lane blind. Because at the end of the day, Thunder Predator do have last pick, so if they really wanted to make this mag mid impossible, it's going to be very hard for four Zoomers to flex them after their next pick. But we'll have to see what they go for because I still feel like they're missing another gunner hero, but of course he's really good at the mag, and again, there's still that flexibility, but we'll have to see because again, you're playing mag not just in general, but you're playing it versus Ursa, which is not really the nicest thing. You never want to keep the bear on top of you unless you've handedly won the fight already. It's really the perfect counter pick that Thunder Predator could have gone for, and that's why I think we see that Kunkka ban right there, kind of splitting it up.
Actually, Thunder Predator kind of looking in a similar direction at the end as they go for the ban on the Invoker. So split bans really from both sides in that final phase, and I mean, why not, right? The Mag and the Sand King both could go mid, but when you think about it, you don't really feel super comfortable with either one of those heroes in those positions, but you have to acknowledge that it's an option for both of these squads. So splitting it up a little bit, we'll see what the actual call here is. Okay, there's that Storm Spirit. You were talking about it earlier. It's the same strategy for them. They just wait until the very end to pick that up for Gunner, and now if you're Thunder Predator, you are so much less prepared to deal with that storm than you would have been.
Yep, and all of the spirits are gone except for the one that's been picked. Of course, okay, they could pick Earth Spirit still, but we don't talk about him. He's the
Yeah.
Shun brother of the four, but we'll have to see because now does Dark Mako perhaps slam the Bat Rider and then just start to run it? Because I feel like that's the most obvious Dark Mako hero that is still in the pool here.
Oh,
Okay, the Lesh. The true 50-50 in the mid lane. Storm versus Lesh. No one loses there, but it's definitely a matchup where, man, all of the pressure has now been alleviated off of this Ursa. This is such a good Lesh pick because it balances out absolutely everything. You've taken a lineup that pretty much couldn't kill buildings, could only kill Roche, and was kind of good at killing heroes, to is now really good at getting every single objective. And it's that succinctity that Thunder Predator did very well yesterday with this Leshrac pick. I really like it. I think they really brought everything back with that hero choice.
yeah, that hero just gives them, honestly, a little bit of everything that their lineup had kind of been lacking, which is the way last pick is supposed to work, at least in theory. It's just a lot of the times it doesn't quite slot in so effectively with that Leshrac pickup. So Thunder Predator are looking pretty good here. You do still have some concerns about how the Ursa is going to be able to sort of keep on these heroes, but if you've got the Sand King, the Leshrac, and a Wind Ranger all trying to sort of keep heroes locked in place, then I would assume Angel is not going to struggle too significantly in terms of hitting anyone other than the Storm.
Yeah, and of course, sometimes, at least previously, when you had last pick, and whenever last pick was horrible, you did get kind of pigeonholed into a position where there are 20 good heroes in Dota, and your opponents get to pick them all before you do, so it's not the best situation. But this is definitely a really good spot to keep your draft in. Of course, picking Lesh versus a carry that is naturally going to go spell immune is always a little bit dicey, but also means that if you catch him without the spin, if you start on him first, there's a very real possibility of Kostabile now getting blown up in the beginning of these fights. Honestly, just seems like this is going to be a good old-fashioned game of Dota. No team really counterpicked each other too hard. There's a lot of balance going around this time around.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that we always like to see, to be perfectly honest, from a casting and spectating standpoint. When one team has clearly outdrafted the other, it's still interesting because then you see, can the team that outdrafted their opponent out execute them, but it is almost always more fun to see a more balanced approach, see which team just outplays the other without any sort of maybe inherent advantage. So we shall see. As we mentioned earlier, both of these teams, as of right now, undefeated. Of course, they've both only played one series, so undefeated maybe has some air quotes attached there. But still, two squads that I think a lot of people coming into this event were looking at as maybe some of the favored teams. And they have a very early matchup right here that honestly could loom large for the standings later on when we get down to the sort of final stretch and you're maybe looking at some head-to-head matchups in terms of potential tiebreaker scenarios. I think it is maybe not expected, but it would certainly not surprise anyone to see these two teams near the top.
No, not by a long shot, especially, again, can't stress enough how much more conservatively that four Zoomers are now playing, they're drafting. It's a very big mix-up that's excited to see, especially with everyone really mechanically, I want to say, on their peak performance after, you go into the hyperbolic tank for 2 months after TI, you don't make it, so just time to grind. And I think that's something that every single player in the region has really done a good job at doing.
Yeah, the NA and SA teams in particular have been hard at work here. Of course, maybe there's a little bit of bias because obviously, those are the players we get to see the most often because we're obviously NA based as well. So don't want to sort of throw any shade at any of the, European, Chinese, Southeast Asian teams. I'm sure those squads are just on the grind as well. It's just, we're NA boys. We get to see the NA stuff a little bit more than the other regions. But right now, though, what in the world is this? This is all 5 heroes sitting at the top of the ramp on the side of 4 Zoomers, waiting to see if anybody makes the move. Both teams have wards on the opposite lane, so they see all of this. And I don't really think anything's going to come of it, at least not there. But Costabile getting hit up a little bit there initially. Dark Mago hits him with that Lightning Storm, but this should not turn into any sort of major fight. Everyone sees everyone else, and any sort of misplay here would just be, frankly, strange to see.
Ooh, they placed it. That was a really cheeky sentry from Husky. Doesn't get the last hit, though, and now they know about the high ground ward. So this is why we don't place mid wards anymore. No, nobody can have anything nice anymore. Oh, he's
Uh,
walking through small. Okay. The
did
counterplay
he really?
begins.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's a nifty move there. Drops the sentry, gets the D ward, blocks the camp. So this is something in particular against the Storm Spirit that you always want to sort of ideally be able to pull off. That Storm so often can just rotate over to that camp, drop himself down a couple of remnants, and supplement that farm. So being able to take that away, even for the first couple of minutes, is maybe something that makes life a little bit easier for Dark Mago. And meanwhile, up top, look at Panda, just trying to get in there. He and Angel looking to dish out a little bit of early damage against Moo, but, well, I don't know. It just seems hard for the Mag to get caught out too much here. He doesn't have the skewer yet, but you would have to assume he would be going for it around that sort of level 2 to 3 mark. So it's not so much a situation where you can kill him, but Panda's just going to keep on being as annoying as possible. We talked about the Grimstroke on the other side, sort of serving that role, but the Abbot can do pretty much the exact same thing. Right now, though, it's maybe one half annoyance and one half trying to stop whatever's going on here with this creep pull as Moo somehow managed to drag it all the way through, across the lane, into the woods, and now back into the actual middle.
Yeah, and because of how it ended up being timed, Angel wasn't able to drag the creep wave of his own behind the tower, so just means that Mu has this gargantuan wave coming in, and Z-Freak has also done a really good job of safely blocking any chance of a pull happening. So this is just going to be a huge win for the Magnus, and even Z-Freak sniping out
Ooh,
the courier up here. They
nice.
always do this. They always try to win that type of Dota. They always are trying to outclass their opponents when it comes to the creep pressure, whether or not they can get these waves in. And well, Pandabu just did such a good job of defending his small camp there. He actually got the D word and blocked the large. Okay. Support play is crazy in the top lane.
Yeah, Z-Freak and Panda, I mean, two of the better ones across that sort of combined NASA region. They know their stuff, and they're pretty damn experienced, so they're going to be able to pull that play off. Angel might want to be a little bit careful here on the Ursa. Z-Freak does have a point up in the Inkswell, so you are relatively safe, but you don't want to get too far forward, especially against the Mag. If an Inkswell connects and the Skewer comes out, then all of a sudden you're sort of operating under your opponent's tower. That's not exactly a fun situation, but no, looks like things are going to get pulled back here. Panda was able to get that creep pull off, but Z-Freak, well, Z-Freak actually just yoinked it. He is going to take those back, and Mu no longer has to really be this far forward. He can just sort of fall back, and Angel isn't really in a position to punish that at all.
Yeah, and they really are just trying to make the most of this lane. I don't think... Yeah, Angel's got a pretty big wave that he's kept alive on his own, but you see the game of cat and mouse that they're still playing with these camps. It's just that important. They know how impossible it is to get this lane back under control as long as those pulls aren't available. And again, it's just Z-freaking Pandaboo kind of just doing this ta-de-ta.
Down
Yeah,
bot,
bot.
Stable got into a little bit of trouble. No point up in that healing ward just yet, but he is able to walk away from that, and this is the only sort of downside for this duo. You've got this sort of double stun play coming out from them, but this early on, they really don't have a whole lot of damage to then follow it up. But even without the maybe straight up kill potential, you look at Oscar, 22 and 5 right now in terms of that last hit count. So this lane, it's going insanely well for him, and honestly, this is kind of what we expect, right? Sand King laning against any sort of melee core always has that sort of extra annoyance with the Sandstorm and the Caustic Finale, and Costable really can't afford to just sit up there with him. He's got to just take the scraps, really, that are coming his way.
Yeah, and it's really largely the Caustic Finale harass, but it's also just that if you do hit that Burrow Strike, you're taking guaranteed damage. You're taking a lot of right clicks, and actually top.
Ooh,
Ooh, huge skewer.
nice defensive play. Mu just sort of breaking that one up, and, well, I think this is the first time we've seen Angel and Panda actually look for any sort of play like that. For the most part, it's just been Angel farming and Panda running interference and trying to keep those sort of waves and camps under control, but Angel is feeling maybe a little bit more aggressive. He's got the Fury Swipes and the Overpower combo, so he can do a lot of damage in a short amount of time, but you still got to deal with Mu, right? That skewer play was so huge for him, especially since it connected onto both, and that's always just going to be maybe not a guaranteed reset, but pretty close anytime this opposing duo tries to get aggressive.
Yeah, and it's still really hard, and I think that's why we see Pandaboo already rotating over to stack. He's just kind of trying to accelerate his Leshrac, even if it's in just a small way, but that's also where we see Z-Freak getting his own stack train coming in here, and it's those huge, large stacks that even go back to bottom, and Matthew's also making stacks of its own. Everything is about these huge, large camps where if we can accelerate our mid laner, get him that huge level tick up, especially with the Leshrac, it's going to be huge for Dark Mago, because he is always so good at farming.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, we did have that slight decrease to the sort of small camps in terms of the experience, which, okay, maybe you're slightly less efficient in terms of your XP gain, but the gold is still there in full force, so you are going to be able to get, presumably the Leshrac going if you can start taking those stacks, but for now, a bit of a pause coming out just as Matthew and Husky were getting real close to each other. Husky, though, I'm not really sure what he does here. He's used all of his abilities. He doesn't have enough mana to TP, so you might just have to try and walk all the way back to the lane. I don't really know. He doesn't have the sticks either, as he just popped him to be able to get off that Thunderstrike. So really, there's kind of nowhere for him to go.
Yeah, pretty sure Husky is dead to rights here, especially because I think Dark Mago is surging forward.
I don't think
You're
so.
a bootsless
You
disruptor
were so
without
damn
enough
dead,
mana
I'd
to
shoot you
TP
again.
immediately, and Matthew still has Shackle Shot, so
Oh, yeah.
what can you do? Uh, but it isn't the worst death to give up. The only problem is that, yet again, it's just going to be Costabile and Oscar both getting quite a lot out of bottom. I think the big reason that this lane started going into Costabile's favor is got a few of those levels by himself, so he's finally able to just chill, stabilize. Healing Word's an incredibly efficient spell, so it's not like he's ever going to get forced out at this point, and Oscar is still looking for his Ring of Health. Once he gets that, then no one can really lose bottom anymore until the Spirit does decide to make his rotations.
Interesting. Went for the Bracer as that sort of first item on the Sand King, as opposed to just the straight-up rush for the Ring of Health. So, yeah. I mean, the Bracer's still going to be useful for him in terms of just getting that little bit of extra tankiness as well. Meanwhile, Husky, well...
Making him work.
Yeah,
Making him work.
buy some time for sure, but it is eventually going to be Dark Mago's kill. Matthew sort of holds off there to make sure the Leshrac gets it, and first blood into the Lesh's hands. Silver lining, though, if you're for Zoomers, is the fact that Gunner's been able to sort of operate alone in that middle lane for 30, 45 seconds now, with Dark Mago sort of pursuing that kill, so you do at least have that going for him. He was able to bottle up that DD rune as well, and Husky even coming in. A bottle refill that was kind of already taken care of with the bounty rune, but now you get an extra charge or two, and they're going to try to push in. They want Dark Mago. Matthew, though, very nice shackle into the Splitter. Actually, Splitter will not connect, but Gunner dies anyway. He zipped around a little bit too short. He was still in the Pulse Nova, and speaking of Pulse Nova, he's able to just run down Z-Freak as well, so for 4 Zoomers, I mean, it's a good idea, right? You're bringing both of the supports in just as that Storm Spirit is really topping off his mana, but the Shackle Shot from Matthew sort of breaks it up initially, and then it's just sort of too much damage in that area for the Storm to deal with.
Yeah, they just weren't aware of the wind's position. It's not even their fault. You see, they place a ward here anyway. Okay, they're going for Dark Mago again.
Should be able to get it this time. Well, Dark Mago, though, not making it easy, but they do eventually bring him down, so... They find the kill. Gunner gets the tip over. Meanwhile, the Glimpse actually pulls Matthew back in, so Gunner wants to go for a second. And do they have the damage? Thunderstrike only hitting one more time, so Matthew walks away. But while that was going down up in the top lane, they make the jump in onto Angel. Even with Panda there, wasn't really able to provide enough defensive capabilities to keep that Ursa alive. So, okay, that initial play on the middle lane didn't quite work out, but as soon as Gunner responds, he goes back in. They find that kill. They find a pickoff onto the opposing carry, and now look at Husky. He just moved into the east side jungle, took out the ward, and now they know that that stacked camp is there. They could try to take it away, but the defensive play now coming out from Thunder Predator. They don't want to give this one up. They're going to look to get Husky taken down here. The Glimpse is nice, but not going to matter. Matthew still gets it, and now Dark Mago says, I'm glimpsed back to the stack. I might as well take it.
Yep, no reason for him to get slowed down here. Fortunately, and almost tactfully, I want to say, from Husky, all of his deaths have been dragging heroes away from these runes, so Gunner will be able to secure another haste rune, but really this top lane, the entire reason they get the kill on the Ursa is just because the Enrage comes out a little bit too late, and look, now where everywhere that Pandaboo was playing is now going to get brought over to Gunner, who's taken a nice little triple stack for himself, and this feels pretty nice for you if you're the Storm Spirit.
Man, so Gunner, I mean, it's a pretty swift shift in momentum as well. You go from kind of botching that play in the middle lane just that little bit to all of a sudden you take some stacks, you find yourself a kill. Actually, I believe, yeah, technically he only got the assist for that play mid, but either way, his recovery is pretty rapid right now. You see him still making his way up that net worth, but if he can continue to find farm like this, and if he can continue to maybe get aggressive, I mean, he's still a Storm, right? At this point in the game, that Ball Lightning is going to be incredibly valuable for him. He does need to go back to base right now, but very much looking forward to seeing just where Gunner tries to go now. If you can keep some of these cores on the Thunder Predator side, maybe on the back foot with that aggression, it's going to be a much better situation for your own cores. Speaking of which, Costabile, he's getting close to, I believe, the Echo Saber that he's building up here early on. So, his farming is not bad. It's just in comparison to some of the other cores, he's a little bit behind. But again, this is where you get that aggression coming out. Moo and Gunner jump in onto Dark Mago. They don't even have to pop the RP for that. So they're able to find that kill, and if they can continue to find pickoffs like that, then the Jug is going to start coming along more and more in the interim, and Or Zoomers have a chance to maybe shift some momentum, but right now we've got a bit of a fight in the river. Matthew is going to get pulled back in by the Vortex here. And, well, I mean, he's making a good show of it, but it's not going to be enough. He will still be taken down. Meanwhile, Angel and Panda, they kind of attempted to get in there onto move, but the skewer away is going to keep him safe. And now Panda's getting glimpsed back into the river. And they're not going to chase any further. Probably smart. You see Oscar and Dark Mago both coming in, so Thunder Predator want to turn this into a bit of a larger fight, but I don't think Four Zoomers really want that. You see them backing away, and they're only going to push forward if it turns into a fight for the tower, but it might be that push. Dark Mako gets real far forward there. And at this point, if you're Four Zoomers, you're kind of forced to mount some sort of response here, but you don't want to take the Juggernaut out of his farming rhythm down bot.
Oh, this is such a good play. They're waiting. Gunner still needs to go for that reset, but they want to play on this card so bad. This is really smart from Thunder Predator, but it's really, how does Four Zoomers do anything here? Waiting for the Static Storm at the very least. Yep.
There's a Static. They get the Juggernaut in there as well, so they've already found one. Oscar gets taken down. The RP from Moo just pulling everyone into the fight as well, but they need to actually find these kills. They haven't taken them down. There we go. Dark Mega will fall. Matthew dead as well. Panda has his ult popped. But Angel, I mean, look at the man go. He's just sort of pushing forward. Gunner doesn't have any mana. 1 or 2 more hits will get the job done. As Angel picks up his triple kill, he's looking for the Ultra as well, as Moo is not going to be able to get away. And Costabile, how do you get out of here? Angel has the Earthshock up in a few seconds, but he doesn't want to dive the tier 2 tower. So he'll be content with, well, 4 kills in that fight. And if not for Angel just sort of going wild on the backline, that was looking like Four Zoomers really had a solid fight going, but the Ursa was not accounted for, and Angel just single-handedly wins that for his team.
Yeah, they strike right before you really get any big mana item from the Storm Spirit, so you have very limited resources. You have to spend pretty much everything to take out the Sand King. It was such a good Static Storm coming in from Husky, but the problem is the Static Storm, it was on the Lesh, it was on the Sand King. The Bear had already made moves to get past you, and these supports are so vulnerable. I don't think you even had, no Soulblind on Z-Freak, so you don't have any really defensive measure or save unless that Ursa is getting glimpsed. You don't have any way to get him off your supports. It's kind of a crazy play from Thunder Predator just because they get the tower at the end of the day because their bodies were there. I think it was actually the dead Diabolic Edict from Dark Megu that actually ended up claiming it, but that's the type of tempo that they want to play with this Lesh. They want to continue to run at you before you're ready, and once cooldowns start affecting and sort of playing into what Four Zoomers can and cannot do, it's going to start to feel like really they can't show up to a lot of these trades.
Yeah, if they can just start taking control of the map, Four Zoomers are going to be, well, maybe not in a bad position, but one where they're going to have to sort of think quite a bit more about what fights they want to take. But Four Zoomers on their side, I mean, they're putting together some nice tower pushes as well. Tier 1 taken in the top lane. They had already gotten the Tier 1 mid a moment or two ago, so it feels like these tower pushes and this map control is going to be more effective for Thunder Predator in terms of the advantage it gives them, but at least Four Zoomers are sort of giving as good as they're getting here as...
They know.
Nice play from Husky. Holds on the Static Storm as well, because his teammates were not in a position to fight it, but at least they can break up that initial attempt, and this really doesn't look like a scenario where Thunder Predator are going to stick around to try and go for Roche again. If they could sneak it, fine, but they're not really going to make it a particular sticking point right now.
Yeah, they're just farming up. They're waiting for their big items, because that's the one thing that Thunder Predator don't really have until Oscar. Is this a Blink Dagger coming out? Okay, yes. There it is. Now they can actually do something. I can only imagine we're going to see a smoke up pretty soon here, but they want to find at least 1 or 2 picks on the top side of the map. Then they can snowball that into Roche. Unfortunately, not there for the rune control, so even though there are 5 heroes on 4 Zoomers here for the Arcane, this is another really early skirmish that I think Thunder Predator are saying that they are going to have the advantage here, but it's still very scary for them to march into the low ground there.
Yeah, they feel confident, but not 100% sure that they actually have the advantage. But now, here's that smoke play. They're going to look for Oscar to lead the charge. Actually, it's Matthew out in front with the pig pole, but honestly, that's just as good in terms of the initiation, if Matthew can sort of get in there, but they need to find somebody. They're drifting closer and closer to that Tier 1 tower, however. That is going to maybe complicate things, but Oscar's in. There's going to be the Burrow Strike onto Z-Freak, locking him down. Angel comes in for the quick and easy kill, but they want a little bit more. They have eyes on Husky as well, but no one is quite able to close that gap in time, so it's not a bad play for them. They get that one kill. It's not a very valuable one, but they're able to maybe take some of those Obs Wars out, and they do reestablish control of the Roche pit. So they are going to go back in, and I don't really know if you're four Zoomers. Do you want to contest this? Do you maybe look for Gunner to make some sort of zip play at the very end? It's going to be risky really either way, but he is in the area. No, they didn't really have actual vision of the pit there, so Gunner wouldn't have been able to time it. So they're just going to have to let that one go, but that's Angel working with the Aegis. And okay, Gunner jumps in, Static Storm deployed, so maybe they can just get through that Aegis right now. Although Angel, I mean, he is just not going to go down easily. He's not going to go down at all, as a matter of fact, as he will be able to survive. And now look at Dark Mago. He's looking to push it onto Husky. Doesn't have a stun, doesn't need a stun. Matthew's able to get the snipe down with the max level power shot. And at the end of the day, the Storm Spirit lives. That is going to be good. Gunner was pretty low there to the right clicks of Angel, but you made that play trying to burn the Aegis. So the fact that you don't burn that Aegis and you lose one of your supports is a bit of a setback for Gunner. But the second that he gets back on his own side, he's just going to rotate into the jungle.
They're looking at Dark Mago bottom. They would love to get this kill. I think they're just going to RP him on... Oh, not even.
Okay, Omni Slash coming through, and yeah, they didn't need the RP. That is a very nice play and made even better with the efficiency, because now Moo, he needs a little bit more mana, but he can make plays elsewhere as they are sort of eyeing up that top lane. Angel is here. They have to get through that Aegis, though, but what can they do? Z-Freak comes in. He's going to throw down that Soulbind. Moo needs... Well, he needed to actually skewer forward to get that Ink Swell off. They're not going to be able to make that happen, but they do still get the skewer back. They're trying to get through Angel, though, before they actually have to commit that ult, and it looks like they are going to be able to do so. But how do they set up here? They know that there are other heroes in the area on the side of Thunder Predator, but they don't want to give up the kill, and Moo goes in. RP connects onto two. Oscar tries for the burrow, and it does connect, but it's too late. Matthew and Angel already fall. Oscar will die as well. Panda's now going to get glimpsed back in, and they should just be able to clean this one up. They stun him with the Ink Swell. They've got him really dead to rights, and Kostapale finishes off that kill as well for the Ultra. Four Zoomers perfectly maneuvered there. They waited so long. They were so patient on that Ursa, making sure that they don't blow any of those major spells on his first life, and it pays off in spectacular fashion.
Yeah, and very strangely from Angel, he actually popped the Enrage on the tail end of his first life, I think, saying that maybe I'm just going to get Static Stormed as soon as I get back up, so I'm probably going to be dead if I don't use this anyway. But that was also just perfect from Moo, who just hid the fact that this Blink was coming out on Courier. They were only aware of the Yule Scepter. I can bet money that they were just completely blind. They're like, okay, he can't get us anymore. That's why they get so close. They clump up for just a second, and then Kostabile, I mean, you're hitting a stunned Ursa. There's nothing that he can do, and he still wins that matchup pretty hard. But now, no RP. They want to get aggressive. They want picks.
Jumping in onto Z-Freak. That's a quick and easy one. Kostabile, though, not going to be taken down as easily. Meanwhile, in the river, you see Gunner. He's trying to get aggressive here. Moo now comes in for the skewer, but without the RP, Thunder Predator don't have to be too afraid of this setup. They're going to try and track somebody down as Oscar blinking forward. Burrow doesn't connect, though, but the Earthshock is there. They get the slow as well from the Diffusal Blade. That is going to be enough to find it. So Moo will be taken down, and as you said, ET, they want picks. They're able to find a couple of them there, and now off the back of that pickoff, you see Dark Mago going to rotate into the jungle. They send the Ursa down bot to farm and push, so they are trying to sort of reestablish that equilibrium right now after a pretty rough teamfight defeat.
Yeah, and it is a little bit of a problem coming in from Thunder Predator, but just everything is about this Burrow Strike. The Burrow Strike sets up the Shackle, it sets up the Split Earth. If Oscar can continue to find these initiations, it is going to feel really hard for four Zoomers to fight pre-BKB, especially for both the Magnus and the Storm Spirit, but we still need to see, I think, a little bit more from him. That was also a fight where Husky really had no way to find a Static Storm. It was just a little bit too spread out. He wants them to purposely clump up on each other. That's how everyone on Four Zoomers wants to operate. As long as they're on top of each other, they can get their damage out. But as soon as they play this spread game where everyone is individually going in, Thunder Predator can definitely get you. But RP mid,
Blink RP connecting. They pull Oscar back. He's going to try to Burrow Strike his way out of this, and actually, they haven't been able to bring him down just yet. The nice heal and defensive play coming in from Panda. And now they're looking to push, but Z-Freak, that's a nice usage there of that Soulbind. You get the silence out as well, but it's just not going to be enough. Z-Freak will still fall. Gunner has to use his mana to now zip away as Dark Mako just charges his way into the fight. And it doesn't look like there's going to be much more of a fight. Everybody's just trying to sort of go their separate ways now on 4 Zoomers, but Angel actually caught out Husky all the way, I think that was across the river. Yeah, it was. Husky was in the east side jungle. Ursa gets glimpsed back towards his own teammates on the back end of that play, so... Well, it's just the 2 supports, I suppose, if you're 4 Zoomers, so the losses are not massive, but the continued pressure from Thunder Predator is finding some sort of purchase here, right? They're continuing to make these plays, and now that's a big one. They jump in onto the Storm, hit him up with the Burrow into the Shackle Shot, and the Storm just never has a chance. Gunner, I mean, he would have if he could have, but the Ball Lightning just can't come into play because he is stun-locked to Eternity, and that is a much bigger pickoff for the Thunder Predator side, and that is what the smaller plays will sort of do for them, I would say, right? They only get the 2 supports at first, but with those 2 supports out of the picture, it makes heroes like the Storm Spirit more vulnerable.
Yeah, and it starts to become a damage problem where as soon as you lose one aspect of your team fight, then everything starts to go awry. And not just that, you use your RP on your side of the map. As soon as you're using your spells on your side and you're not immediately getting anything, that's where this Lesh immediately moves towards your mid tower, gets your glyph, and then suddenly another lost team fight is going to mean all of your tier 2 towers, and then suddenly your opponents are playing with so much more gold than you are. It's definitely getting more and more high stakes as we go here, and it's something that I think for Zoomers, they need to be a little bit more cautious, especially when they get into these fights. They've been playing blind a little bit here. I think they really need to get something set up just a little bit more before they go for those jumps. It's the second time where their lack of vision has definitely punished them.
Command Smoke from 4 Zoomers now coming out, though, so they're looking to get a little bit sneaky, making their way around. Question at this point is, what exactly can they find? Costabile is going to sort of push forward. He is not under that smoke, so he's going to act as the scout slash bait here, but I don't know if the Jug is really the hero that you want out there as the bait because, well, if they don't have the strength to jump in on him with all 5 of their heroes, then they're not going to take the bait anyway, and if they do, the Juggernaut could get picked off, so the Jug gets pulled back, but now it's Moo who's going to get jumped in on, but that's a nice Static Storm coming out from Husky into the RP, into the Omni Slash as well, just tearing through Oscar. Dark Mago dead as well. Angel is very low on HP here. They haven't been able to bring him down yet, but it feels like, yeah, Gunner zipping in, they are going to be able to take that one down. All 3 of the cores will fall, and now they're just going to hunt down these supports. Matthew gets glimpsed back onto the high ground. He's just really forced into a corner, as they will finish him off. And I do believe Panda is going to get tracked down here as well. Moo will skewer him back up onto that high ground. They pull him in with that shockwave, and Costabile finishes him off for the double. That worked out perfectly. Honestly, you get the jump in onto Moo, sure, but they did not know that really Husky was there, and that Static Storm just completely turns the fight around. Once Moo survives the initial burst, he can throw out the RP, and that is just a disastrous play from Thunder Predator.
Yeah, the real big issue for them is they keep losing track of this Magnus, and that
Oscar?
was all because, yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
I don't think he has the damage for that. Horn Toss is going to push him back. They get the Skewer there as well, but now here comes the Reinforcements, pushing their way in. They're going to get the Shackle Shot down onto Z-Freak, but Gunner zipping his way forward, jumping onto the Sand King, pulling him in with that Electric Vortex, but Oscar not dead just yet, but it looks like Gunner is going to be able to track him down, and at this point, I'm not entirely sure that this was the move for Thunder Predator. They are only going to lose 1 so far, but it is a big one, because without Oscar, I mean, how much more can they really do here? That is still their primary initiation, and he gets taken down just a little bit too quickly.
Again, more smokes. They keep on going.
Zip on the Dark Mago, no BKB for the Leshrac, so they're going to be able to lock him down. The Yule Scepter is buying some time, though, and Gunner, he actually doesn't have a whole lot of mana left to work with, so he is going to take a step back, but Costabile comes in, pushing their way forward. The Horn Toss throws Dark Mago back into the fight here, and the Inkswell is going to be there to stun him up. Dark Mago just can't get away, and now Panda, oh, he just had his ult popped as well, so the borrowed time is going to sort of be basically blown, and now Moo is in there for the Skewer. Panda will be dropped, and at this point, if you're Thunder Predator, you just gotta stop the bleeding here. They just keep on losing 1 or 2 heroes at a time, and 4 Zoomers are just going to take those pickoffs over and over again if they're offered up. Thunder Predator need to maybe try and regroup at this stage and look for something different.
Yeah, they really need to. It feels like they kind of threw away a lot of what was kind of going for them here. It feels like they just made these plays. They placed Vision down maybe another smoke ago on four Zoomers, and then they kept on making plays where they knew something could happen. And Dark Mago has been giving it to them. He's been having a really rough game. Of course, he has been trying to stand out and in front alongside Oscar, but that's where Moo just keeps on finding and keeps on getting these huge catches. And again, when map control goes your way, Gunnar has also just been playing with so many runes. It feels like with this arcane rune, suddenly he has another 1500 mana to work with, and you don't need to be nearly as scared. And really, the biggest highlight is just Z-Freak. He's always finding this Phantom's Embrace. He's always getting the silence out on these incredibly key heroes, and it's almost impossible for Pandabu to play anywhere near his cores.
Yeah, and that's the whole sort of thing about the Abba. If he's not allowed to just sit next to his teammate and throw those defensive abilities out, then he really just doesn't do much of anything. As Angel, okay, good push in alongside Matthew. They'll take down Gunnar. Now without Gunnar, they're feeling confident enough to push in onto the rest of the lineup. That Storm really is kind of the issue for them. So once you know that you're not going to have a Storm Spirit zipping in onto your low health heroes, they just push their way forward. They'll take down Husky as well, and well, Roshan is back up, and they do have an Ursa. They could try for that fairly quickly, but Costable's presence in the middle lane is going to attract a little bit of attention here. Don't want to give up the tier 2, although, yeah, so much for that plan. They've already sort of given it up, but where else can they go? Angel just blinked in. He's looking for the fight. Good Shackle connecting onto 2, so Z-Freak is going to be taken down. Moo now stunned by the Burrow. And they are going to be able to take down both of those heroes. Costable, though, should be getting himself out of here. He's got the spin TP. Yeah, he's just going to get out while he has the chance. But more kills for Thunder Predator, and now... well, now that Roche Pit's maybe looking a little bit more tempting for them.
Yeah, it really is. Who are you, or when are you the winner of the map? Because it's this super simple rotation where now you're going to get this Ag Shard over onto Angel, and the only one who can really post up a defense is going to be Gunnar, just running in, trying to be as obnoxious as possible. Of course, still has that Arcane Rune, so you are going to be obnoxious, but it is just so quick. I don't think they're going to stage anything here. They don't want to throw away anything, but now, I feel like you even might want to give this Aegis over to Dark Mago. Looks like Angel is slotted down, so he isn't going to be able to take up that Aegis, but he is just going to need to frontline even harder. I think the big moment was getting that BKB in the past minute or so. Angel finally doesn't need to be concerned about getting silenced, and he can actually play with full confidence jumping these heroes.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a BKB. He's got an Aegis for 2 lives. He's got the Earthshock upgrade, so he has that sort of mini enrage onto himself, which means there is a very narrow window for 4 Zoomers to really just lock him down, let alone actually take him out of the fight. So that is good news for the Thunder Predator side, but as you said, that means he now has to be the guy on the front line. Oscar is still there for the initiation, obviously, but Angel has to be right in the middle of it, which is something that he's sort of, I'd say, shifted a little bit more towards, but in the earlier engagements, we often saw him trying to use that Blink Dagger to get onto the back line. In this circumstance, it would still be nice if he could do so, but you also have to sort of keep him far enough in the main fight itself to make use of his actual durability.
Yeah, and that is where the biggest problem, I think, for Thunder Predator is that they are still looking for an opportunity for Dark Mega to actually get on these towers. Even though Angel is doing a really good job now, I mean, 11-3-1, he's doing pretty sick kill-wise, he is not going to hit these towers. He's not going to gain you these objectives, and that's where I think Dark Mega is still maybe another item out before he can really sit up in front with true confidence. The game is still find each other's initiator, though. If the Sand King or the Magnus go down early on in these fights, it feels like that is when the collapse really starts, and they might even look for Gunnar on the way tail end here. He's got a really good position, though, for breaking smokes.
And not only does he break those smokes, but yeah, he finishes his TP out, so everyone else on 4 Zoomers will also be getting away, except for maybe Costable there. Is his spin, or are you serious? That timing, it just ends at the latest possible moment, so the Split Earth stun connects. Wow, I mean, I thought it was still going, but it ends just as the Split Earth was making its connection, so you get most of your players out, but that's the Jug dead, and actually he doesn't have money for buyback, so now Thunder Predator obviously don't know that, but with the Jug down, they're going to look for another fight, because we still have the Aegis. We have a man advantage. The Jug is gone, and well, if they do push into a fight, they're going to figure out pretty quickly that he can't get back in.
Yeah, I don't really know. It was either the disruptor or I think the Magnus that ended up killing him. I think he had the long TP because he was TPing to that bottom tier 2 instead of the well, and it's just not timed out. That's crazy because that just gave you a really key kill to finally get this tier 2 tower mid, and this is where it is going to become a game of who's able to catch the split pushing heroes, a game that Thunder Predator, albeit, aren't the best at right now, but you get a few more items and suddenly becomes very easy to fix these lanes, especially Z-Freak is so vulnerable in the bottom lane. Nobody's really making the effort yet, though, especially because I think they got eyes on Gunner.
Yeah, Dark Mako goes there to clear the creep wave out at least, but not looking for the kills. So just trying to make sure no split push comes towards them just yet. And you see them trying to set up here in this west side jungle, really getting up onto the high ground. Panda, well, would like to see him maybe drop a little bit of actual vision down here. They do have the one ward covering this entrance, but not really having that vision on, I guess, for Zoomer's side of the entrance there. But they are playing so far forward right now. They've still got the Aegis up for another minute, minute and a half. So see really if they look for anything within that time frame to go for another fight, because they're starting to spread out a little bit more now.
Yeah, and I think that's where we're really seeing four Zoomers start to make less plays. They know that if they throw away this game, it's very simple when you're playing versus a Leshrac to just lose a Rax out of the blue if you don't have Glyph. So they're really being a lot pickier with their positioning, and they haven't been able to really claim back that same vision or really the confidence to go into these areas. They placed another ward up in the dire triangle, but again, that's not really where Thunder Predator have been playing. They've been taking a lot of these engagements to your side, and I think that's where four Zoomers, unfortunately, haven't really been set up for them. They do, of course, have an Empowered Jug farming away, though, so you still have Costa Bile getting a lot of net worth, as well as the Ags coming out from Gunner. Once Gunner gets that Ags, that's where I really think the plays become so much easier for Moo. Moo really has just been freehanding everything, at least with the Vortex. You're going to have that kind of secondary setup, or even just making the RP feel even longer.
Matthew and
Moo.
Angel going to jump in onto Moo. They get the shackle shot down, and yeah, there's just nothing, really nothing to be done. Angel just does too much damage. Gunner was close, but he'll take that opportunity to TP away as opposed to getting involved in the fight itself. And now they actually just caught another one. Kostaple is in a little bit of trouble here in the middle lane. The Yule Scepter is going to lock him down, but, well, he'll try to spin his way out of this. And, oh, nice play from Husky. Okay, Static Storm's really just going to bring that chase to an end entirely. But look at Dark Mako go. He is so damn fast. He had the whip on him as well, so continuing to chase forward. They get the Yules onto Kostaple. They know now that the spin had already been used, so they're going to be able to jump in onto him with the Burrow Strike, and they've got the kill.
Gale Force.
That's a big one. Yeah, that Gale Force Husky. Oh, look at him. He's just desperately trying, but the wind just continues to push him back. I think he just dropped a gem as well, so that gem hits the deck. Z-Freak's now in trouble. That Ghost Scepter is not going to be enough to save him, and look at Thunder Predator off the back of a couple of solid pickoffs are all of a sudden in their opponent's base looking for the chance to push something, but before they can actually do that, they do need the tier 2 all the way in that bottom lane, but Matthew and Panda will clean that one up. The creep wave's pushing in. I don't really know. Do they really want to do this? Most of their heavy damage dealers in terms of actually pushing that tower have already left, but Angel's making his way back over. And they're going to give it a go. Okay. Tier 3 tower will take a little bit of damage, and for Zoomers, they're not in a great position to defend this right now. Nice play from Gunner, though. That classic sort of zip through, kill off the creep wave, try and get the backdoor protection up quickly, but it's still taking a lot of damage at this point. And with Angel and Oscar just on the front line, they don't really have too much to be afraid of right now. They know Kostaple either has to buy back or wait out another 25, and now with Dark Mako coming in, I mean, they're just going to go all in for this. They're looking for that Rax, and they will basically dare four Zoomers to come and defend it.
Yeah, it's really patient from four Zoomers. They know that even if they get an incredible initiation, even though Thunder Predator are already splitting up preemptively, if they get this jump, they just don't have enough damage without Costa Bile. And, okay, Angel. Oh, he got stunned.
Oh, no, Gunner gets stunned up. The RP from Mu, though, very nicely done defensively. Gunner, he's still dropping low, though. He's getting stunned by the Split Earths with that Shard upgrade. He very nearly gets picked off. They'll be able to pull him back, but Z-Freak does end up going down. He'll buy back immediately. Husky, though, ends up falling as well. There's no buyback on him, but Gunner still trying to make plays with the Agnum Scepter. He pulls in multiple heroes. They try to get Inkswell stunned down there as well. It's just not really enough at the moment. And yeah, there you go. One last hit from Angel will finish off the ranged Rax. That's the full bottom lane taken by Thunder Predator. And They are really stringing these plays together right now, ET. They've jumped out to a 13k net worth lead, and for Zoomers, well, I mean, we've seen they've had to use things like this RP and the Static Storm defensively, and if you're doing that, then there's really not much of an opportunity to turn things around and try and take a positive engagement.
Yeah, and really, the Glimmer Cape from Husky is just carrying them so much. 2 times there where Gunner gets clipped by the splitter that it's so hard to see when everything is going down. The Sandstorm, the RP, all of the things cast on the ground, the static fields, it feels impossible for him to time it out, but without BKB, oh, no way.
Oh, Gunner. He just got jumped in on again. He's able to zip away this time. Costabile, though, pushing in as well. Moves here on the front line, but without the RP, they need something, and they did get it. They got the skewer onto Angel. The Omni Slash is coming in, but with the Enrage and the BKB, Angel just isn't taking damage. The Gale Force is now coming in, keeping these heroes from fleeing as Husky will be taken down again. Move falling as well. Costabile now kind of stuck on the front line. They've got to be able to protect him. He'll spin his way back into the base. But Matthew wants to keep on chasing. Look at the blinks forward. They got a bash down as well there from Angel. And Costabile will be finished off. He'll buy back immediately. Meanwhile, Moo going in for the Horn Toss into the skewer. Doesn't get that Sand King, though, all the way back to the base, so they don't get that Fountain Laser firing. And they're just getting corralled back into their own territory. Angel, though, is starting to drop a little bit low. And realistically speaking, I don't think he's getting out. Yeah, they're going to be able to finish him off, and that forces the rest of Thunder Predator to now make the retreat. But Oscar gets his TP canceled. Gunner was able to hit him up with the Vortex, so now the Sand King is pretty much alone here with no backup. Matthew has to just basically leave his teammate to die. And for Zoomers, okay, I mean, it did not look good at the start, and honestly, it's still not great for them, but that could have been so much worse. If you don't get that skewer all the way back, they can take down Angel, and oh god, Angel and Oscar, they actually both buy back as Moo. He went in for the solo kill, but, well, couldn't really afford to do so. That RP has to be deployed defensively, but even that is not going to matter. I guess if you're Moo, I mean, you didn't have buyback. You had already used it there, so you might as well RP, because you're just not going to get to use it at all if you don't, but he just goes so far forward in a situation where none of his teammates were following, and he gets insanely punished for it. And now, if you're Thunder Predator, all your heroes are back up, and you are pushing into the Roche Pit once again.
Yeah, he's gonna be beating himself up for that one, because now you were completely fine with trading. It was very expensive going immediately for the Oscar and Angel buyback just to match Moose and Costabiles, but they didn't want to wait. They didn't want to even chance Costabile getting that Aegis, and you saw how fast 4 Zoomers backed off because there is that level of respect. Unfortunately, well, we're back here and we're 50 seconds without our Magnus, and again, there's not much that they can do. They're kind of just waiting, trying to be obnoxious, and they're going to keep him stunned as long as they can, but unfortunately, this edict is just inevitable.
Dark Mago doesn't have to care too much. You see him throwing down the splitters here as well, so that's something Gunner is going to have to be very afraid of, because he still doesn't have a BKB. He doesn't even have any pieces of it right now, so if he zips in and accidentally gets clipped like that, as he is going to get stunned up, but there's not enough follow-up, so he is able to zip himself away, but all of this is just buying time, stalling things out, but it's slowing down the push, but it can't stop it right now, although as I say that, Backdoor Protection did just kick back in, so that's going to buy them a few extra seconds worth of time, and now Gunner zipping in again, Angel dropping low. He does have the Aegis, though, so even if they bring him down, they'll have to deal with him twice, but Oscar wants to jump in with the Epicenter, burrows onto Husky. He's going to try to save himself with the Glimmer Cape, and for now, he actually is still alive. Turns around, drops down the Static Storm. There's going to be the Omni Slash coming out from Costabile as well, but it's just bouncing way too much. They're not able to kill anyone off just yet, but Matthew will eventually fall. Gunner now zips forward. They don't have eyes on Dark Mago, though, as he was put under by the Glimmer, so they're just going to have to settle for Panda. And, well, that really just, it's not great, right? They get the 2 kills onto the supports, but they don't go in until their racks have already been taken, and they don't take any of those sort of major items out. The Aegis is still there. The cheese is still in play, so I mean, it's good that they found something, right? That gets a little bit of gold into their hands, but that was not exactly the play that they were hoping to make, and now you see 4 Zoomers feeling like they need to get aggressive here, pushing onto their opponent's side of the map.
Oh, they got to be so careful, though. If they lose Costabile, the game is all but over at that point. Gunner, I think, still has his buyback, so he would be able to just try and play the delay game, but that's where I think the sole focus from... Oh, he missed the Horn Toss.
Ooh. This is a problem. Moo's going to get stunned. Oh, okay. His own Yule Scepter comes out. Costabile's going to try to come in to help, and well, let's see if they can do this. Moo's going to get taken down. Costabile now has to try and back himself away, using the spin to get out, but there's the bash in from Angel. Husky trying to save the day with the Glimmer Cape, but it's just not going to be enough. Costabile still dropping low, but Gunner zipping all the way in. It's just not enough, though. That DOT coming out in the area from Dark Mago will still be enough to finish him off. And that is your Juggernaut dead for about 2 minutes with no buyback available. So at this point, for Zoomers, all hands on deck. Pull everybody back, try to defend your final lane of racks and see what you can do, but this is not going to be easy for them to defend. They're still in Aegis and Angel's hands for another 2 minutes, so they can afford to just keep on pushing forward to get the Megas.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it just feels like Moo is playing just too far away from his teammates, and Gunnar, he's trying. He's trying to delay as much as he can. Oscar's killing Z-Freak over on the other side of the fight, but I do feel like they finally ran out of gas in the tank. They're pinging the wards. They know the vision is there, but unfortunately, I think this is just going to be one of the last edicts here. Gunnar's trying to do everything he can.
Dual Scepter there, but the timing's a little bit off, so he's able to pull back, and I mean, he is buying a little bit of time. It's just not enough. The racks will be falling here. The Megas will be acquired. The question now is, do you go for it? Do you go for the tier 4s? The Jug is still dead for about a minute, so they could afford to make a play here. And Gunnar, I mean, he is doing everything he possibly can, but just feels like it's not enough at the moment. Thunder Predator continue to push their way forward. And Gunnar, okay, he's just going to keep on zipping in over and over again, try to do anything in his power to sort of draw this one out, but the tier 4s are now under attack. And Gunnar, okay, connecting, dodging out the stun, zipping back. Actually, he did pop Panda's ult there, so there's something, but these plays just feel like they're nice. It's impressive that Gunnar's able to sort of avoid that lockdown without a BKB, but it's just not enough to really matter. They need to actually be able to kill somebody off, but it's just not happening, and there's going to be the stun. Eventually, Gunnar's luck runs out, and Dark Mega will bring him down, but there's a buyback. Gunnar's back in. He's going to keep on trying, but the Ancient's been exposed at this point, and really, they need a miracle, and that's not it. There's going to be the Static Storm, though, thrown down defensively, but Gunnar is still dropping low. He is going to be able to zip back, but again, Ancient's exposed, taking the damage. Thunder Predator honestly could just sort of lay out for it, and they'll do exactly that. They focus the objective, and they will end the game.
Yeah, it really felt like the player who could have won or lost this game was going to be Moo. I think he was put in such a hot seat. He really was the person who needed to go in and start a lot of these engagements, but there just wasn't enough to force something out of Thunder Predator. I think it got to a point where their heroes were too adept at dealing with the reaction that 4Zoomers were trying to cause, and eventually, really, they just ran out of damage, unfortunately. I think going into the next game, maybe they try something a little bit different. I think the Jug was interesting. I also think that the Z-Free Grimstroke was working really well for that first 20 minutes of the game. It just got to a point where suddenly you're not feeling confident to stand up, and you can't defend Husky and Z-Freak on the Disruptor and Grimstroke. Everything just fell apart once Oscar started hitting his mark, and I don't even think it's too much of 4Zoomer's fault. I just think they were very fragile and incredibly reliant on that RP, and when it started to whiff or it started to not hit, then the game really fell apart for them.
Yeah, that was the thing for 4Zoomers. They just didn't have that secondary kind of playmaker, right? It came down to Moo. If he's taken out and the RP's gone, then there's just nothing else to be done, and I don't know. It felt like their lineup was built in a way where that wouldn't necessarily be a problem for them, but Gunnar really did not turn into that initiator. Husky used his Static Storm defensively, I'd say maybe like 75% of the time in those matches, so if he was not using it to follow up the RP, he was forced to use it to try and keep someone like Kosabile or Gunnar safe. And if you're using your Disruptor in that manner, he's not going to be all that effective. Of course, that Glimmer, though, from Husky still sort of saved the day multiple times. It just wasn't quite enough to keep them in it. But for Thunder Predator, I mean, we talked about that Leshrac coming in as that sort of final pick, really just taking all those pieces and slotting them together quite nicely. And it really did feel like the Leshrac was what they needed. It did come down to Oscar, as you mentioned, just making those initiations, but the Lesh was there for the damage, constantly sort of pushing out waves and towers, and when you can shrink the map like that for 4Zoomers, it makes the pressure on them even more potent.
Yeah, and we started that game 0-6-4. It's just Lesh is always going to get something done. It's always going to cause something around the map. And I think really the biggest thing is when you pick up this Ursa, you have a frontliner in your carry. Oscar always got to hide himself. He got to play in the shadows of the map and then look for his initiation, where Moo was really brought to the front every single time, because if he missed his RP, he took the spells and then he died. And once we got out of the phase of the game where Healing Word was enough to heal everyone through all of that damage coming from Thunder Predator, it was working then, but once it actually came down to brass tacks, it just wasn't enough. And I think, honestly, Thunder Predator just did a really good job because, again, it's that balance where it doesn't feel like they really have any weak bone in their body.
Yeah, just well balanced, as you said. They just execute so well, and they do reap the benefits there. Thunder Predator now with their third straight victory. They are undefeated, and as of right now, they have sole possession of that first place spot. But we are still looking at a second game in this series. Four Zoomers have a shot at redemption and a shot at a little bit of revenge here. If they can get that 1-1 draw, then that'll keep them right up there alongside Thunder Predator. So we shall see what Game 2 has in store. We're going to be stepping away for just a little while here, but when we come back, it'll be the start of the Game 2 draft between Four Zoomers and Thunder Predator.